If I knew these things earlier, I would have a lot more success a lot sooner doing wholesale on Amazon. And for those of you who don't know me, welcome to the channel. My name is Dan. I go by 1000 ASINs on Instagram and YouTube, and I've sold over $70 million of products on Amazon, working directly with a lot of different brands and distributors. And in this video, I'm gonna go over some of the main lessons I've learned that will hopefully save you a lot of time and a lot of headaches as you start your wholesale journey, or perhaps continue it. So lesson one, prepare yourself for rejection before you even make your first phone call. And I don't mean be pessimistic or negative about your chances, but understand that this is a numbers game. Just like any sales function in a business, there's going to be outbound calls, whether you're in real estate or software sales or really anything. There's going to be an element of a sales funnel. So you have the top of the funnel, which is cold outreach to all these different brands that may or may not want to work with you. Then you get a bunch of no's, probably a majority no's, maybe 60, 70%. You get a few maybes and a few yeses, and then you go to the next stage of the funnel. It could be maybe check back in 3 months, or maybe we need to see a presentation of what you can do for us. And your job is then to turn those maybes into yeses, or perhaps you get a few yeses right off the bat. Understand it's not gonna be as simple as calling one brand and saying, can we sell on Amazon, and expecting a yes. So there's nothing better than practicing 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 reach outs and crafting your message. And I will say the first 5 phone calls, 10 phone calls, they're nerve-wracking. You might be stumbling over your words a bit. That's perfectly okay. It's kind of a gauntlet you have to go through. I know I was nervous my first few calls, but I started becoming more casual and understanding the same few talking points that these brands want to hear about. And once I was able to converse a little more naturally and didn't sound like I had a lump in my throat on the phone, conversations flowed a lot better and ended up leading to actually me opening some accounts. Just understand that even a good closing rate for a top seller is gonna be in the 20, 30, 40% range. So no matter how good you are in this industry or any other industry, just understand that getting accounts is just a numbers game. Don't take it personally. It doesn't mean anything about you. You could be the best seller in the world, and some brands are just gonna say no. It might just not be the right time for that brand, or maybe they just signed with another seller last week or something. So there's a lot more at play than just, oh, you suck, go away. Don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. Another piece of advice I'll give you is every rejection you do get, whether it be on the phone or email or filling out a contact form online, use that as information. So don't just get hurt about it. Figure out what they said, why they said it, and then maybe address those objections next time. So use any information you get back to craft your pitch, improve upon it. Just keep learning and getting better. A side note, speaking of rejection, I actually made a whole other YouTube video on how to specifically deal with rejections on the phone from brands that may or may not want to work with Amazon sellers. So check that out, and you can hear the specific talking points I mentioned in a little bit more detail. Next lesson, cash flow and inventory turns is so crucial. At first, I didn't really understand the importance of how fast I was turning my inventory. And it's a very subtle difference, but if you can get more inventory turns, you're gonna make way more money. So let's say you turn your inventory every 3 months on average. That's gonna be 4 inventory turns a year where you get your ROI or projected ROI on that. Let's say you can shorten the time that you spend your cash for the supplier to the point where you get paid to 2 months instead of 3 months. So 60 days versus 90 days. Now you're doing 6 turns a year. So every 2 months, 6 times a year. That 30-day savings actually increases your profit by 50% in a year, which is really not to be underestimated. So anything you can possibly do to increase your number of inventory turns, the better. And the best way to do that is by getting terms with your supplier. So at first I didn't really care. I would open accounts and there would be a credit application, and I'm like, I don't really need terms, I'll just pay up front, that's that. But it wasn't before I did the math on that to realize that net 30 terms actually shortens the time you have to spend money on products versus get paid by Amazon from products. And you can shorten that time by 30 days. It actually makes a massive, massive difference to profitability. So the price is important, but equally important are the terms. So if you can get net 30 terms, always do it. build your business credit. There's a business credit reporting agency called Dun & Bradstreet, and it kind of works like personal credit. They see what accounts are open in your business, what type of credit line you have, and your payment history, and other companies will look at that report. They'll ask for your Dun & Bradstreet number on a credit application. They'll run that number, and then they'll look at your business and say, oh, this business has 10 other accounts and they're all current and they've always been paid on time. Great, now we're comfortable opening a $100,000 credit line with this business. Something like that. So you can build your business credit just as you can your personal credit. And I highly suggest you do that, because net 30 terms, maybe they start with only a $10,000 limit, but maybe they bump you up to $20,000, then $50,000 over time as you spend more and more with the supplier and always pay on time. Also, net 30 terms can turn into net 45 terms or net 60 terms even, and that shortens the cash to cash, time even further. So it can even be quite crazy where it gets to net 90 terms plus, or there's even some instances where there are manufacturer specials where if you order before a certain deadline, you might have 5, 6, 7 months to pay this. So I've seen that with seasonal products. I've seen that with Christmas products. You kind of put in a pre-order, but you don't have to pay for it until months after it actually lands in your warehouse, which is pretty cool. So if your terms go out far enough, you actually almost have an infinite money glitch, because let's say you have net 90 terms, you buy the product, send it to Amazon real quick, it sells through in 30 days, Amazon pays you, you might be able to get paid with profit before you even have to pay the supplier, which, that's the holy grail, because then you can essentially do infinite inventory turns using borrowed money from the supplier themselves. So every year that passes, I realize how much more important terms were than I thought, and also the length of time it takes from the time you spend money on product to the time you get paid on product. Do everything you can to shorten that, and that doesn't just mean payment terms. It could mean prep times, or maybe shipping straight to Amazon from a supplier to cut down some additional processing time. So track all the steps that it takes before you get paid and try and shorten each of those steps if you can. Now let's go to the next lesson. Okay, next lesson, think like a brand. So when I first started selling on Amazon, my first year or two, I was doing arbitrage. And the focus was, how low can I buy this product for? And what's the maximum I can sell this product for to make the maximum amount of money? And there's nothing inherently wrong with that at all. If you want to work with brands directly, or even distributors of those brands, you kind of have to flip the script in your head and start thinking like the brand you're working with. Let's say you approach a brand and you're just thinking about yourself, like, I want to spend money on your products, I want to make money off your products, resell the products. The brand says, okay, that's all well and good, but we already have 5 other people doing the same thing, and our products are always in stock online, so why do we need you, Mr. Seller number 6, that does nothing but buy and resell products? So at first, this really confounded me. I was like, man, why won't these brands take my money? I'm trying to spend money with this brand. Why are they not letting me spend tens of thousands of dollars? But I realized I was still thinking rather selfishly, like, about me. Well, a big paradigm shift happened when I thought about the brand. And an analogy I like to refer to often is like a sales pie. So let's say a brand does 100,000 of sales online across all their listings. And let's say there are 4 sellers, so each of them have a quarter of the pie, Then you come along as seller number 5. If you provide no extra value to that brand and don't help them grow sales on the Amazon platform or other platforms, then all you're doing is slicing the pie that had 4 pieces now into 5 pieces. Now everyone gets 20%. And the brand not only has not grown their sales by adding you as a reseller, but they are now doing more work. Now they have to process orders from 5 sellers a month instead of 4 sellers a month. So now they have more operational work. Maybe there's less shipping efficiency. They're doing more smaller wholesale orders. Their warehouse is working more. Their accounting team is working more. And so you're actually a net negative to them coming to just be another reseller. As I started to understand that more and more, I then started thinking, how do I think like a brand? What does the brand want? And primarily what a brand wants online and in brick and mortar and everywhere is growth. Picture yourself as a brand owner. What would you want to do? You'd want to make your brand a $1 billion brand. You'd want it in Walmart, Target, selling all over the world, Amazon, eBay, every possible sales channel, put in the best light possible, stable pricing, reliable partners. Turn around and think like a brand owner every time that you are contacting a brand. And I'd recommend doing some preparation. What shortcomings do you see from that brand online? Maybe their listings suck, maybe their pictures suck, maybe nobody's spending any money on advertising, maybe a top selling product that's in brick and mortar isn't even online in the first place. So there's all sorts of improvements you can point out and then try to align with them, side with them. Say, we can help with this, we notice all this stuff, and we are looking to grow your brand and partner with you rather than just buy your products and resell and nothing more. So that mindset shift will help you as you reach out to these brands and give you a way bigger chance of success than just a guy calling and saying, can I have a wholesale account? What's the minimum order requirement? I'm an Amazon seller, and like nothing really to add to that. Of course they're gonna reject you. So hopefully this lesson helps you kind of reframe, your conversations with these suppliers. Okay, next lesson, relationships are important, perhaps more important than the products themselves. So a lot of these brands, they wanna work with people they like. And I think that's undervalued in trying to do this. So if you're just the seller that puts in a PO once a month, once every 2 months, doesn't really communicate, doesn't really ask how they're doing, and maintain kind of a friendship and friendly working relationship, those might be some of the first resellers to get cut if they're trying to narrow it down. The sales reps internally at these brands, they're working with a lot of different sellers oftentimes, and who are they thinking the most of? They're thinking the most of the people they feel like they're friends with and who asks about them and maintains conversations beyond just business. So, and I'll admit, I'm personally not the best at that. I'm a very numbers, analytical, business-minded person. However, I have made the good decision to hire people that are more natural persons. Did I say that right? I don't know. People. And they are great at maintaining relationships. Usually the first part of the phone call is like, oh, how's the weather in blah, blah, blah place? Or I see your sports team is doing great. Or what are your vacation plans? Something like that, like a little warm up before you get down to business. So I think if you can put the people first once you're in, you're gonna really have a good time with that brand and establish a deeper relationship. I've seen it time and time again. It's not just about who spends the most money. It's about who's the easiest to work with, the most friendly, the most feeling like we're a team together and we're working on this stuff. So while it's not a strength of mine, I do understand the importance of it and try to strive to do that more and more if I can. And fortunately, my account managers are better at this than I am. So, all right, next lesson. Know your numbers from the start. Please know your numbers. So Amazon is a pretty complicated place to sell because there's a lot of fees that you have to understand. Amazon has probably 50 different types of fees for various things that can happen as you sell products. So if you're not aware of what these fees are, how much they are, how it affects your bottom line, you're going to often break even or even lose money and not even know about it. So the sooner you can take a cold, hard look at your accounting numbers, the better. So there are a couple of softwares to help with this. One would be Inventory Lab, but I prefer number 2, Seller Board. So Seller Board will import all of your Amazon fees. You have to tell Seller Board how much you're paying per product, but it will break down your profit and loss on Amazon in great detail and organize all these fees for you. So I would get started with a tool like that, like an Amazon Analytics tool, but even that is not enough. So that's just gonna tell you how profitable you are on Amazon, but you will have other expenses off of Amazon. So a few examples of this would be if you pay yourself a salary, that's gonna be an expense. All of the softwares that you use to run the Amazon business, all your packaging supplies, warehouse expenses, employee expenses. Let's say you borrowed some money, you might pay some interest on that. So you not only need to know your Amazon numbers very closely, you also need to know your real numbers. So for that, you need QuickBooks or an accounting software, and either do the accounting yourself or hire someone who's a professional. And I will say, in working with multiple bookkeepers over the years, the more you put into it and the more you make an effort to understand your numbers, the better they will do. They're not mind readers. They're not gonna just do everything perfectly for you. So you have to help them with categorizing expenses and explaining, what is this expense? What does this mean? What does that mean? Once they start learning, then your books become on point. I think a lot of people wait several years and they have a ton of inventory and it's all over the place and they don't know how much it's worth and they don't know their true profit margin. Start from the beginning. It's worth the effort. Maintaining good books is a lot easier than trying to clean up all this stuff and create a system. Lesson number 6, 7, I don't know. I've been hitting you guys with a lot of lessons here, but next lesson is going to be you can't do it all alone. So just like any other business, if you want to grow, not only replace your income, but get some time freedom and maybe 2, 3, 4, 5x your current income, you're not going to be able to do that all alone. You basically need to hire people to manage all the aspects of your business. So I'd recommend the first hire you can hire people to label products for you. I remember back in my early days, all the products that come in, I would personally print out all the labels. I would personally label each and every product. I would box them up. I would create the shipments. I would apply the UPS labels. I would schedule the pickup. I'd bring it over. That was half of my day. And I realized I'm just working for a $12 to $15 an hour job. So it just made no sense for me to continue to do that. So that was the first hire I made, and the second, third, fourth, fifth. And then I realized, okay, what am I spending most of my day doing? So you just basically keep identifying, what are you working on most of the day? Can someone else do it? So my next thing I identified, I'm managing accounts and buying stuff and researching products most of the day. Okay, can I hire someone to learn that same skill set and do it? Did that, hired someone, then hired a second person. My sales doubled that year, and then it freed up even more time. And then I just rinse and repeat, keep asking myself, what am I doing? Am I doing any low value tasks? Can someone else do it? A lot of the stuff I realized I was doing could be done virtually. Didn't even need an employee in the US. I could hire someone from the Philippines to do a lot of the spreadsheet work or reimbursement cases or Seller Central cases, all that type of stuff. So I guess the point in saying this is you're not gonna make $1 million a year being a one-man show. So prepare yourself to scale and learn how to be a business owner and delegate, which is, similar to any other business. So it shouldn't come as news to you, but if you were thinking, you could just be on the beach with a laptop and everything's magically gonna work without you, without other people involved, sorry, you're in for a rude awakening. You need to be the leader of an organization to hit those types of numbers. And the last lesson I'm gonna leave you guys with is shiny object syndrome. There is so much of that today. Even on my own Instagram feed, I've got guys pushing Section 8 rentals. I've got guys pushing private label. I've got guys pushing AI influencers. I've got 5 different business models. And honestly, some of them sound pretty interesting, but I know if I just jump to the next thing and jump to the next thing, I'm gonna be very mediocre at a lot of different things, and probably none of them are gonna work. So I would recommend, whether it's this business or any other business, go all in, become an absolute master at what you do. And that's where you're going to have an edge. And I'm guilty of this myself. I started with Amazon Wholesale, and then I tried to do private label at the same time. And then I tried to do a prep center at the same time. And then I tried to buy some real estate at the same time. And I just found that I got way overwhelmed, and none of the things, number 2, 3, 4 went all that well. Like, I had my core business that was going really well, and I just got sidetracked and overwhelmed and burnt out. And I literally nearly had a breakdown. I'm like, I need to just stop all this. So I wound down several of the things, and now I'm just really focused on my business and the program that I also put a lot of effort into. And that's kind of my max. I know now that I can't really do anything more than that unless I really fully delegate. Maybe I'll hire a CEO someday where I can fully step away, but I'm kind of maxed out. And I would recommend the same for you guys. Just be really good at one thing. What people usually don't see is all the hard work, the struggle behind it, but it's worth it. It's all the sweeter if you work for it. So speaking of shiny object syndrome, before you go to the next thing and browse for 10 minutes and then the next thing for browse for 10 minutes, pause and learn about a business model. And speaking of shiny object syndrome, before you go to the next video and watch it for 10 minutes and then forget about it, click the link below, see if we can help you, because this is as good as it gets in terms of a business model. Yeah, hopefully we speak to you soon, and we'll see you in the next video.